Sven and Mitty are definitely the best bottom in the West.
Sven is unstoppable! Double kill, still chasing in the front line.
프리즈는 그냥 안정적으로 잘하고 잘 죽지 않고 운영적으로도 많이 도움이 되는.
Freeze is kind of like he wants to be the aggressive guy. He likes to play Caitlyn, Draven.
The axe follows him over the wall. The cash, the roar of the crowd. Freeze happy to pick up that kill.
I don't really know how far we will get. The time will tell.
What a play from H2K. A triple, a double, the full house. That's going to be the ace. The triple kill. What? The quadra kill coming in. Perks, the man on a mission to make this game happen.
Overall, H2K is going to be a stronger team in the long run, but maybe they're not going to be as strong as they can be, and we can beat them.
Hello and welcome to Berlin, Germany, home to the LCS Studios and the European League Championship Series. We're here to start week 3 with a bang, and earlier we got a look at the players setting up. Origin by the pool, taking a dip. We're actually throwing around the ball in true Eurocup spirit as well, I am sure. The Rocket setting up in the arena as they will be facing OG, getting concentrated there for week 3, as well as Schalke 04 in the studio, ready to face Fnatic. Good evening, everyone. I'm E04 Schalke supporter, and joining me on the analyst desk is James Stress O'Leary, Andy Vedius Day, and Daniel Sifa Drakas. Welcome to the analyst desk, Sifa.
I'm excited to be here. Interested to break down these games.
I was going to say, too soon on the Euro Cup. It's only been minutes, Sharks. You're already rubbing it in. I guess we'll give you the pass on this one. It is your birthday.
We give the pass. Okay, thank you very much. In any case, let's get down to the action. After 2 weeks and 40 games on Summoner's Rift so far this summer, some divisions in the standings are beginning to emerge. Obviously, G2 Esports in first place with H2K right behind them with 8 points. Now Fnatic and Rocket rounding out the top 4. And especially down there at the bottom of the standings, there are some interesting developments.
Oh yeah, I mean, Origin, Vitality being down there around the bottom of the table. I mean, coming into this, you look at this is 2 teams that were doing fairly well. We're in playoffs, and even in, getting to the finals last split really wouldn't have been expected. But 2 weeks in, the standings just leave us in that spot.
And very interesting, at the top of the tables, there's been a major change for G2 Esports, the league leaders. After just 2 weeks with a 6-man roster, now G2's top laner, Kikis, has decided to step down, so they will only be playing with Expect. Quite an interesting decision there.
Yeah, overall, I think this is going to be a pretty big immediate hit for G2 because while Kikis may not have been an all-star in the spring season, he was a good role player, and he's been steadily improving since his start as a top laner in the LCS.
I'm looking forward to seeing what Expect brings, though. I think that in terms of his lane presence, he's still a strong top laner and will not hurt G2 in terms of their mechanical prowess. It's just a matter of the team play. He is from Korea. How well is he going to be able to synergize, and how quickly will G2 click with their new top laner?
Well, we will get a couple of answers today, how the team fares as they are going to take on and defend their first place against H2K in our match of the week. But first, it is Rocket versus Origin and Vitality versus the UOL in the arena on stream EULCS1, while Fnatic go up against Schalke in the studio on EULCS2. Obviously, that match of the week is very, very hype. What are we thinking here?
Pretty crazy games all along the board. I mean, Rocket, if they can continue good showing in the beginning, should be on path to climbing their way back up the standings again.
I'm actually quite looking forward to seeing how Splice do up against Giants. I think that so far Giants have had a bit of a rough road going up against the top of the table teams. Looking forward to seeing how well they do against the middle of the pack teams.
Yeah, and how Knight can step up because you had to run him.
He did
good. He did good last week. All day long, also, we want to see how you support your favorite teams. Tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtag HowIEULCS and give us a look at your league experience. We're going to be checking in with you guys, but this is a picture of you guys getting ready. So obviously, this is the ritual before LCS.
I mean, this is how we EULCS normally. This is a weekly occurrence. Martin just walks around the dressing room, and that's about it for the beginning of the show.
In hindsight, not the best.
In hindsight? Pun intended? Yeah, actually, every time we try and take a group picture with the Fisho, this is what he decides to do. So, I mean...
We have to get his good side, that's why. We take it from the back.
All right, in any case, now it's time to get into our first match of the day, taking place in the LCS arena between Rocket and Origin. On a more serious note, we said already, Rocket looking strong, 3-1. last week. And the one thing that we take away from their performance in the first 2 weeks is their late game team fighting.
Yeah, it certainly is. Roccat, definitely a team that not many people expected to be sitting towards the top end of the table right now. And while their late game team fights are the things that carrying them through a lot of their wins, their early game is something to be desired.
Yeah, you could say they have to come back from behind every time.
Can we see the backside of this joke?
Okay, anyway, we need to talk about the early game of Roccat.
Yep.
They brought it up themselves as well. It is a problem, and it is definitely showing.
And this is why we wanted to break down each individual players. Airwax, Parang, and Raise to the 3 we want to focus on at first. You can see they're heavily behind their opposite numbers on average. This is taking into account all 8 games. When we overlay then Steelback and Betsy, you can see they're a lot more even. But what this doesn't delve into is why those 3 are so far behind it. And the real key focus on Parang, the top laner, is that Roccat are leaving him out to dry in lane swap games. They've had 5 games in lane swaps. He's not getting the resources early on, and it's making Roccat struggle pre-20 minutes.
It certainly is. Another factor to consider is Airwax in the jungle. You saw him very low down on that goal differential graph. And while a lot of junglers, if your opponent is just doing really well, that goal difference can be a bit of a misleading statistic. But Airwax has typically shown that he is regularly getting caught out in the early game, and he is resulting in Roccat falling behind.
Yeah, we know he's a very, very aggressive jungler, and he's also said mea culpa last week. It was my fault that we were behind. We'll see what they can do this time around versus Origin. Origin last week, against all odds, 2 draws with Xpeke in the 80 carry role. What did you make of that?
I think this is the amazing SOAS story. I think amidst all the chaos that's befallen this team, these 2 guys have been a shining light. And if they can keep up this level of performance, they may be able to carry OG to some wins this week, if not, some ties, potentially.
SOAS and Amazing are definitely the shining stars right now for Origin, having brought on Peke. Whenever they put themselves in a 2 versus 2 matchup, it is typically Peke and Hybrid falling behind. So as long as Origin can play well around SOAS and Amazing is setting up for success, we can have a repeat of his fantastic Jax game from last week.
Yeah, it is very interesting to me that that has become the story for them and the rightful strategy to win. Turning towards the match taking place in the LCS studio, we have a clash between Fnatic and Schalke 04. Fnatic in week 2, it was wobbly. They had their match of the week up against H2K. Wasn't the best performance for them, and a lot of focus went on certain comfort picks. Of course, the Kazakhs comes to mind.
Yeah, and it's really interesting for me because Spirit is such a veteran player, has chosen to funnel so much time into developing this pick, into turning this, pick into a comfort pick. But he's played Lee Sin, Nidalee, Rek'Sai, all these other picks that are potentially strong in the meta, and he's not opting to go to those and still focusing on the Kazakhs. It just really doesn't make sense to me.
And the interesting thing here is how it adapts to the playstyle of the rest of Fnatic. They are on a different page than most of the other teams here, still playing the Kalista, using that as a little bit of engage from the bottom lane. And I know this is one thing we've talked about Vedius a lot, is that if you're playing a damage-focused jungler, you then can play a tank-focused top laner, but that doesn't gel within the current meta right now, where we're seeing the Aurelias, the Jaxes, the Fizzes come out.
Yeah, we certainly are. And the fact that we've been seeing things like the Zac, the Gragas, the Nautilus come out from Gamsu, it has definitely been not working out for Fnatic. If we just think back to Gamsu at the start of the split, where he brought out that insane Olaf play, hopefully he can move back to that and we see more off-tanks coming out from Gamsu.
Now we'll see what happens and what Spirit decides to go for up against Schalke, a team that was quite hyped coming out of week 1 from us as well. We said, hey, these players seem to have found each other. Gilius had a really good performance, but last week it seems that if he doesn't, the whole team kind of falters.
And we noted that after day 1 because of Gilius' performance in their first series of the week, and unfortunately for Schalke, this continued. We can take a look at his week 1 stats and just how good they were. He was dominant in the jungle. He made the comments, I'm finally playing that aggressive jungler that I want to be. But then you look at week 2 overall, was not a great week for him and didn't find a consistent form. So honestly, Schalke need him to get back into a consistent place if they really want to get that hype back from week 1.
Sifa, what do you think? Where are the openings here for OG versus Schalke, or the other way around?
Or Fnatic versus Schalke? I think really the question for Fnatic that we're going to keep asking as we move forward is how they adapt their picks and bans. And for Schalke, just finding that consistency from Gilius and that consistency in the early game, I think is going to be the key for them to find a win here.
That is.
I think that they need to be mindful, though, because while Schalke maybe not living to the hype, they're still sitting in the middle of the table. They're definitely not a team that you can afford to underestimate. And Fox has been having some very impressive performances in the middle lane. So I think Schalke is still a team that Fnatic need to respect.
Definitely. Well, the players are about ready, so enough from us for now. It's time to send things over to the casters and hit the rift.
Thank you very much, Shox.
Thank you very much, Shox. Happy birthday. Pyrotechnics here alongside Crepo as we're about to kick off game 1 of the day between Roccat and Origin. Should be a solid one.
Yeah, should be a solid one.
Yeah, and we do realize there's a bit of a height difference.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
We have noticed.
We are ready for all of you guys to tweet it at us as well, but we are aware.
By the way, the pulse is a lot shorter than Deficio.
I brought my son to work today.
Bring your son to work.
It's kind of sweet.
Yeah, I don't really know how that happened, but yeah, it's a thing. Anyway, let's get out of this conversation and look at the lineups instead. Starting with our two contenders on the blue side of the rift is going to be Fnatic with top lane Gamsu, jungle Spirit, mid lane Febvin, ADC Reckless, and then support Yellowstar with, of course, Coach Daylor.
Yeah, and Fnatic, a little bit of a rough week 2 coming in from them. A lot of questions about the picks from my side, at least, when it comes to Gamsu and Spirit, all these comfort picks with Kha'Zix and only tanks up in the top lane. A little bit too predictable from time to time for Fnatic, so that is an issue. We want to check that out in the pick and ban phase. But they're playing Schalke, as you guys can see on your screen right now.
Indeed, and we'll see if they can bounce back from their week 1 performance, or week 2 performance rather. Top lane Steve, jungle Gilius, mid lane Fox, Rallis and ADC, and then of course supports Sprattle with Coach Nif.
Wearing the standard outfit. I like it. The Schalke outfit always looks great. There's pants
especially with today, right?
They even got new shoes.
Yeah.
Fits the rest here with the green colors and everything. But this team, week 2, a bit like Fnatic, didn't show up. I feel like we have 2 teams here. We really want to see them bounce back. We want to see them play much better this week, because we obviously expect more from Fnatic. But even Schalke with such a good week 1, it's kind of like, we need to see more. We want to see if these guys can actually make top 6 and get into playoffs.
Honestly, we just need to see more games from both the teams against different opponents, right? Because maybe it was an opponent thing. They performed great in week 1 versus week 2. But of course, yeah, we just need to see more from these guys, because it was sad. Because last week, Schalke just didn't look the same on also an individual basis as well.
Yeah, and I feel like we look at this game here against Origin and now the game against Splice. There were games where honestly, Schalke should have played much better. Like, these were not the strongest teams in our region they were playing. Splice obviously have been surprisingly good, but Origin again have Pekka as an AD carry. And then Schalke goes in and plays 1-1 against them. And one game was fine, and then the other game was really bad, honestly, from Schalke. And it's those problems and inconsistencies we don't want to see from a team where we expect more. Because I think now there's not really an excuse if you are Schalke. Like, you have a better mid laner, your roster has been playing together for quite some time now. Even got the Schalke organization behind you in case you need more help. We want to see consistent games from this team.
I want to change the topic to Champions League, because we're just getting into there very shortly. But Fnatic, we were just talking about you yourself, where their picks and bans have been a little wonky from time to time, I would say. Their comfort picks were definitely not standard comfort picks from what we saw last week.
Yeah, it's a lot of not adapting, I almost feel like. Gamsu just playing tanks every single game, even though every other team is changing it. Aurelia is in there, Trundle is being played, Nara is being played. Fizz obviously is a tank, but also works as a split pusher, so there are multiple options up in top lane. Yet he just played like Gragas and Maokai as his picks. And it makes it too easy when you draft against them. Like, you could ban away the Gragas. Sure, give him Maokai. It's a nerf champion. He's not as strong as he used to be. And then, of course, the man on your screen to the right here, Spirit. And his Kha'Zix, which... the pick is okay. I've seen it in a few other regions, like Clearlove played it earlier today. I don't think it's so hard to execute the Kha'Zix, and he relies on having very strong laners, but when you then pick a tank top, you kind of give away the strong lane, and then it doesn't really synergize.
Yeah, it's definitely hit or miss. But talking about Gamsu once again, with his champion pool being very much tanks, take a look at his opponent as well, Steve. He's also played a bunch of tanks. Like 6 out of the 8 games have also been tanks, and we can see that in like CS differential, where both those guys are in the bottom 3 when going up against their lane opponents. Yes, so they have kind of delved into some of the more carry picks, but it's primarily tanks.
It is mainly tanks. Steve obviously is one of the role players on Schalke. He's not the big carry by any means. He doesn't need to be the big carry anymore. He tried last split, but with the better mid lane and with Gilius, when he shows up, being a better jungler now, they don't need the top lane to carry. And Fnatic apparently doesn't need to play against Elise.
No, because that's going to be taken away in the bans here, and Schalke as well take away the Karma. So I'm going to stop Yellowstar from playing that one, or even if it's brought to the mid lane.
Karma is the new hot stuff. Coming. Like, Karma is so hot right now because she can be flexed from mid to support. In support, she's one of the best. In mid lane, she wins almost every single matchup, unless she's against like an assassin, but no one really plays too many assassins anymore. We don't see like Zed very often as an example. So Karma just has a really good laning phase against all these control mages. She's been played a lot in Korea, especially FLICKR, shown it multiple times. Clearly, it's something the teams have been practicing a lot coming into this, seeing as Schalke already now consider it ban-worthy.
Lots of new picks actually coming into the mid lane support all over the map, really. So taking Karma off the table, now waiting towards what Fnatic are going to take away here. Probably not really going to see that many bans shot towards
a ban.
Shot towards the top lane.
Redo the whole thing.
Yeah, remake. Weren't happy with that Karma ban.
No. Change it. Next one. We ban the Karma instead.
Apparently, the problem was the players could not see the bans, which is somewhat important.
They
It's
can
like,
just
oh no,
listen
we
to
wanted
us.
to ban
What's
Karma.
going on, man?
Yeah. So
It's
we'll
like
be
you don't
getting
need
into
to
lobby.
see your bans. Like, come on.
No, I
you
mean,
know
like,
Karma was going to be the first ban.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
You can predict what your
Yeah.
opponent's going to ban, of course. But no, we'll be getting everyone back into the lobby and then remaking very shortly. But yeah, so we had those first bans come out. We didn't actually see the third ban coming in.
No, we didn't see a third ban from anyone. It was just a lease from Fnatic and then the Karma coming in from Schalke.
What else needs to be taken off the table? When I'm looking at these guys' champion pools, we spoke about potential Zed. That's been played once by Featherman, but we don't really see, as you said, the Assassins that much.
Again, you don't ban Zed, I feel, especially not on red side if you're Schalke. It doesn't make any sense. He's not a threat as a last pick by any means. Vladimir, I would expect to be banned away by Schalke, and then a Rise. Because Vladimir Rise has been like the two most standard bans on red side, where blue side is more target bans. Elise is a clear target ban, obviously from Fnatic in this case here. Funny enough, Nidalee is a pick that Spirit hasn't gotten to play yet this split. But it's not because Fnatic is banning it. Like, they actually never banned it in the 4 games they played.
Interesting.
In the 8 games they played, sorry. But instead, teams are banning Nidalee against them quite often. So I wonder if that's a pick Schalke is considering, or if they're fine giving it away as a potential first pick, because you can play around Nidalee.
Yeah.
Like, she's not as insane as she used to be. She still does have a bit of a insane carry potential, but you need like strong lanes with her. You need a jungler who's very confident in the early game, who can really play aggressive. Otherwise, she falls off completely.
Quick update, we should be getting back into the Champions League, as you can see on your screen right now. So the first 2 bans are going to still be Elise and Karma, and then from here on out it is free games. So the players now have the opportunity to ban anything they want. But
we don't tell them?
No, actually
okay.
I'm just feeding the info. Actually, we're very
We
close to
have
the
to
players
ban
here
this.
in the studio, so I could probably just like fold it up in like a paper aeroplane and shoot it over. But we have the next ban coming out. Will be Trundle from Fnatic, and Azir coming in from Schalke against Featherman.
So Fnatic would have an option here to not ban Vladimir or Rise and get one of them. Obviously, that means Fnatic just also could leave both of them open, and you end up trading. So like you get one as a first pick, we get one then in our first rotation, plus another strong pick. As we see a few different bans. I mean, Trundle, we see him banned quite a lot in Europe as well. Funny enough, I got a question about him, like, why do people value Trundle so highly? Because he has a very low win rate as a top laner, but it's just because he wins almost every matchup against these tanks. And I kind of look at him a bit like a Nidalee in the jungle. He has the potential to just take over a game completely. If he gets a good lane matchup, you get a few ganks for him early, he becomes impossible to stop. Even 1 versus 2, he can beat you after level 6. And you just don't want to risk, especially not if you're Fnatic and you play so many tanks top. You don't want to risk that Trundle pick coming in against them, and then Gamsu gets shot down in lane, and the game is just over.
I mean, it kind of goes both ways, right? With both these top laners being big tank players. But we did see Rise is open because the last ban was Vladimir. I also saw Olaf up against Steve. So Steve hasn't even played Olaf yet, but he has been playing more and more carry top laners. So
yeah, and Olaf is also a pick which we saw in the NALCS. We've seen it a bit around the world as well.
And EU as well.
EU obviously played it top with the Copper Shot. It is a flex pick, you know, both jungle and top, so I think it is a much stronger pick now. I think it makes sense to ban it. Fnatic is banning a lot of the new stuff, if we can look at it that way.
Very true. Hey, there's the first pick Nidalee that you were talking about.
Yeah, first time he gets it.
Yeah. So we'll see what Spirit can do with that
Second
pick.
time he gets it, I'm lying.
Yeah, but no, he's had some pretty good performances so far. He's often defaulted to that Kha'Zix, so maybe swapping a little bit up here.
I mean, maybe Schalke is doing Fnatic a favor, saying, guys, this Kha'Zix, it didn't really work. So we're going to give you Nidalee instead. It's normally banned against you guys, but here you go. This is your first pick. Don't pick the Kha'Zix.
Well,
and we get a game where Spirit can be a big carry.
Yeah, I mean, he's already got a 10 KDA, so doesn't want to mess that up. But he hasn't died yet, so he can
that's
afford
the
to
key
die
thing,
once.
right?
Yeah, don't mess up the KDA. Schalke, first up the first 2 picks will be Victor and Rek'Sai going into the jungle and mid lane for Fox.
Yeah, so interesting enough, Schalke banned away 3 mid lane picks, potential flex obviously with the Karma, and then take the best of the remaining ones. The thing about Victor as well is he's a much safer blind pick than a lot of mid laners, because nothing destroys him in lane anymore. He actually can lane fairly well against everything. Like if you pick a Vladimir, someone could potentially go Swain against you, and it's a tough matchup.
Sure.
We've seen the Nivea outside the laning phase being really good. Victor doesn't really have these counters. He doesn't need a specific compo around him either. He's just a very, very good pick on his own. Rexa, obviously, we see it so many times. She has become one of the absolute top picks. You can build multiple build paths. You can go a bit of damage with Titanic. You can go full tank. And of course, you have the mobility to be everywhere on the map. Great early ganks. Decent farm speed as well. Like, it's just a very solid pick.
Solid champion. I think that's the way to describe that pick. Next two come in from Fnatic will be Braum going into the bot lane for Yellow Star. Will be his fourth game on Braum now with the Caitlyn.
And it's interesting. Braum is actually the most banned support in Europe because he's just so good in team fights. And if you play him well in lane, you can also engage in these squishy range supports and actually win that 2v2. But you have to play aggressive, which is something we've seen Fnatic try to do in the bottom lane with Reckless and Yellow Star. It worked in 1 or 2 games, and then it didn't work in 1 or 2 games.
I mean, it was on the Callista games when he was just going ham, but yeah.
We've seen both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
I think Schalke can be fine taking a range matchup into the Braum, and they're simply saying we're not afraid of Fnatic's bot lane. Because I don't think you have to be afraid of them in the laning phase.
Yeah, that is for certain. We spoke about Ryze getting through the picks and bans, through the bans at least, but neither team has really opted to pick him up yet. We have the next two coming in from Schalke. Will be that Soraka going into the bot lane with Ashe, so another range support coming in there.
But that's the thing, right? In this pick and ban phase, Schalke has put a lot of value on Victor in the past, and they very specifically banned all these mid laners, so they early showed their mid lane pick, and Ryze is not being used that often in the top lane. So Fnatic didn't have to pick him. Like, they could just wait and say, we don't think you're going to play Ryze. Like, Steve is not really his kind of champion. So they're basically expecting Steve to play like a tank now. And then you have a very standard composition with like this control mage in mid, a lot of pick potential from your AD carry, and hard engage from your AD carry. And this Soraka pick as well. Interesting one from Sproutle. We see Mythi mainly play it. And it's fun when you talk to a lot of supports. It's either I love it or I hate it. There's no in between where Soraka is decent. Yeah, no, it's like it's really good, or no, I don't like it at all. I can't really use it. And there's the Ryze.
Wow, last second pickup. Well, there's the Ryze we were talking about, but also the Shen coming in. We've seen a little bit of Shen kind of creeping in, but not a whole lot. We've seen one Shen before, at least in EU.
Well, Korea played it this week here on 6-11. Shen top lane. Same as before, you just go full tank. Laning phase is actually pretty solid. Mid game as well, because you're just building full tank. You're good into most matchups. Gnar can be tricky for you. Once he gets a few levels under his belt, his W starts getting a few ranks with percent damage. But the problem for Shen right now is just his team fighting presence is weak. Like, if you don't land that taunt on 2 members, you don't really do anything. You just kind of run after people and you do very low amounts of damage, especially late game. So his team fighting presence is very weak, but this is a 1-3-1 composition from Fnatic with very, very good lanes and a lot of ways for this mid lane to play aggressive as well. Like Braum, extremely good in skirmish. Shen early game is good in skirmish as well. Ryze, we know if he gets onto a target, can take you down. So a lot of pressure coming from Fnatic, and we're not looking at this kind of game where we wait 40 minutes and then one big team fight decides everything.
It's actually interesting from Schalke. They just picked up their last pick. They were toying the idea of Gnar into the top lane, into a tank, which would be fine, but actually swapped to Maokai at the last second. So just a tank versus tank matchup. But in this one, he's going to have to expend his teleport to match Shen's ultimate.
And like, if you're Schalke, you really want to get into team fights. You want to pull the Shen into a team fight with you, because then the Maokai is like twice as good. So the problem becomes if Fnatic can play this global game, double TP, or even triple TP technically with Shen having 2, then suddenly the Maokai can only join once, and it's not as effective. But it's something I've seen more and more for teams. If they're basically saying, oh, we can't match the side lane of the enemy mid laner, and they already have a split pusher or a tank like Shen, we don't want to pick something like a Trundle or a Gnar to try and destroy the lane, because we can just get ganked by double TP. No, we just pick a tank and we go team fight. And that's what Schalke decided to do.
I mean, this composition really has to just pull the trigger if they want to make that work, because if you mess up once, then the Shen will be able to go in once again and they will just lose to Fnatic. But you can see the full compositions on your screen, so use the hashtags #FNC win or #S04 win for who you think will be taking this game. First game in this best of 2, and the very first game here in the studio in week 3. But
it's very hot in here.
It is very, very hot. I can confirm that to Vicio, but we'll be getting the lights dimmed here very shortly as we head onto the Rift. And you can see all the players, hopefully not as hot as we are. But I'm sure those jerseys actually would be pretty good. Hey!
There we go.
It's happening.
Managed to sneak in as well on the camera shot. Not something you get to do very often as a caster.
That's true, yeah. Sometimes we have to turn around, but not here in the studio. I like that. But now Fnatic just launching off the starting pad and then heading into the mid lane. So got a small stack here. We're going to see anything in the early game.
Well, when you have a Braum in level 1, you actually want your mid laner to play aggressive and push the enemy mid laner back to his tower. So your Braum has the option to sneak around the corner in the mid lane and get into one of these side pushes, and then you can try and surprise them. However, it's actually a tactic Schalke also used. And that's why we saw the ward being placed from Victor instantly in the mid lane, being like we know, I don't care. We know what you're going to do. And Yellowstar decided to abandon the level 1. It's something we see very often with Braum. One of the good things about Braum as well is he's like the best level 1 support. So if you want to get a lane swap, you can always invade with Braum. Like every single time. You can always guarantee getting deep vision. This game here, Fnatic didn't necessarily go too aggressive in the early game. But if you do look at the lanes, like an Ashe Soraka lane can be difficult to play against with their melee support. So I think Fnatic is okay with having a lane swap in this game.
So you can see the starting item build. Fevin on the rise, of course. We were speaking about that in Champion Select. Has opted towards the Mana Crystal first with refillable potion. So that's actually a really nice build for Rise, because he only needs to back with around 700 gold. And if he wants to go Corrupting Potion, he can pick that up. If he wants to go Tier, he can pick that up. So he has a really nice timing on that first back compared to other mid laners and their first items. And we're going to see double jungle to start off.
And such an interesting pick and ban phase we got here, Pulse, with like the Rise being left open, the Nidalee being left open by Schalke, putting so much priority on getting that first pick Victor for the mid lane matchup. And okay, taking it into the Rise, like Rise in lane, as long as he can play aggressive and actually threaten all ins, he can go at least even with everything. He will get pushed down from time to time, but it's all about having lane control for him and have like kill pressure, all in pressure for Rise. If he doesn't have it, if he gets shot down early, he gets pushed to tower and can't do anything. But Fnatic does have a lot of early game pressure here with the Nidalee. And once you get level 6 on a Shen, you don't really want to gank the Rise anymore because Shen ulti will join. Or Shen will join with the ulti.
Yeah, it's actually very hard to do anything in terms of like skirmishes unless you know Maokai is going to be able to get in there. But still, they use pressure in the top lane because Shen. So yeah, it's all about getting those bigger fights and forcing the issue with Schalke's composition here. You just saw the Keystones. Both mid lanes running Storm Raiders. We're seeing that more and more on a lot of mid laners now. Synergizes so with their kits.
Yeah, and if we look at Ashe as well as an AD carry, she's being played more and more. Obviously, one of the reasons is other AD carries have been nerfed around her. She actually got a lot of nerfs herself, like during the spring split. But now, Ashe just does extremely well against like these 1-3-1 comps because she can always threaten to engage with arrow. So like you're always afraid of like overextending in a lane because then suddenly an arrow in your face and the fight is on. And also her damage, especially once she gets to late game. If you can keep the Q stacks rolling in these fights here, she does a ton of damage. And laning phase is strong as well for her because she just trade with volley auto attacks every time. So she actually has a lot of strong things in the current meta.
Yep.
And also keep in mind Lucian on 6-11 was nerfed pretty heavily. And he's actually not being played that much anymore.
Yeah, we're seeing less and less of that pick and more ADCs on the rise. We're actually seeing a lot of Ashe into Caitlyn as well. Being able to kind of match her laning pattern. But there we can see the towers being traded off. And we will probably get to phase 2 of this lane swap. A lot of the time we just see
we don't care yet about that.
No, we see both teams just kind of not really do anything after that.
Very standard so far. First dragon coming up is going to be the Mountain Drake. So obviously will have some value, but not necessarily in the early game specifically. It's much better towards the mid game where you start really pushing in towers and threaten barons and everything. Right now, it's basically just like, hey, cool, you got a bit of extra damage on the tower here. Congratulations. Go eat a cookie or whatever it is you get as a reward.
I mean, you want to pick it up earlier as well, because then you start the cycle off. And yeah, of course you want to prioritize that.
Actually, one of the best things we have seen in the EULCS is when we get multiple Mountain Drakes, and like one team is winning early game, get like 2 of them, and then go to like a 22-minute Baron, and that Baron just dies in like 2 seconds, basically.
Yeah. We've actually seen Fnatic do that a lot, go for a lot of those Barons. They have way more Barons than everyone else. I believe they have 11 Barons total in only 8 games. So yeah, pretty good over their opponents who Schalke not so much about that Baron priority.
And second best team when it comes to Barons is G2 with 9. And G2 has won every game but 1. And Fnatic actually lost like 0-2 last week to H2K as an example. Still being able to take 11 Barons. But that was the key thing about Yellow Star shot calling in the spring split. So not in the spring split, in the summer split last year. There's this whole rush Barons at the correct times now to set up for Barons, and if you are sleeping for just a few seconds, suddenly you lose all vision around the Baron, and the Baron is gone. And Fnatic's been doing it this split. Something to look for, especially if they start getting these early Mountain Drakes, but that's for 15-20 minutes from now, not relevant at the moment. Steve and Gilius.
Yeah, it's not very interesting. It's
No.
Shen versus Maokai, so not a lot goes on there. Going back to that point, though, of Yellow Star, you were pointing at something. What do you want to talk about?
Basically just the fact that Fnatic in this lane swap, he actually opted to return to the lane where they killed the tower to take the 2v2 lane, which does kind of sell Gamsu just a little bit because his lane is actually now pushing away from him in the bottom lane. That's why Gilius showed up, threatens a gank, because right now Gamsu can't really leave, and Gilius can actually just return. You see Spirit here to try and back up his jungler, but he's fairly low.
He's actually looking to back.
Yeah, he's looking to back. So right now Gamsu is being left alone in a lane pushing away from him. And sometimes people are surprised why Gamsu falls behind early. Well, Fnatic as a team doesn't do him any favors at all.
Left out in the open, just a lonely tank, behind in levels, behind in farm. But yeah, so it's not all on Gamsu. You have to look at the rest of the team and the rest of the map before looking at why someone has a big discrepancy in their farm. Like we were even saying it before Champion Select, like he has the worst CSD usually, but I mean, you can see why. We're literally seeing it right here.
Yeah, it's funny, we have the second worst top laner in terms of CSD at 10 and 20, and we have the third worst top laner in Steve playing against him. Down the bottom lane, but both of them are playing a lot of tanks.
Exactly.
When you are playing tanks against Aurelia, Trundle, these picks, you do fall behind. But then you normally are stronger in teamfights, unless you're Shen.
Yeah.
Stronger with the global pressure. He will get level 6 in a few minutes from now. Steve already hit it now. And then I want to see if Fnatic are looking to force anything with invades from the Nidalee and join up. Spirit was invading.
Yeah, and the Herald is getting involved as well. He's going to be resetting, but Spirit is keeping up the damage. The Pulse comes out. He's going to have to flash over the wall. Gilius burns the Summoner, and even Spraddle was coming down.
Yeah, Gilius just had a few more seconds on his tunnel, and it was blocked. He had to flash out. Spirit gets his first little invade.
Yeah, gets some vision down, can clear out the tunnels as well. Puts Gilius a little further behind. Spirit, we've been seeing, has been pretty solid when it's come to invading. Gilius, last week, of course, did not have a stellar week compared to his first week, where we were going, wow, you know, Gilius is going ham every single game. Is pretty much just doing everything all over the map. We saw the reverse when it came to last week.
It is the caster thing, right? We see someone do well in a few games, and we go crazy. You know, it goes on Twitter, it goes on Reddit, in our show, we're like, this guy, man. He's legit. Watch list is the man to look at all the time. And then the second week, it's kind of like, oh, never mind. Yeah.
That's why we need the Deficio on the desk to knock him down a couple blocks.
We did knock him down a little bit. I actually talked to him just when we were getting makeup before the show. And I just asked, like, what happened? You know, week 2, what went wrong? And he actually said it was because he didn't get proper sleep and he really needs to focus. And
get in the zone.
Yeah, he also woke up a little bit too late then because he fell asleep at the wrong time. And things were just off for him. But this week, he's ready.
Okay. So if he doesn't have a good game now, he has no excuse.
That's it. That's it.
That's either way. Just saw, again, a little bit of poking, bit of an invade, but nothing is going to really result from that. Meanwhile, mid lane, just trading blows, just trading off and doing a lot of farming more than anything else. We can see Febman has his core item build, something we always say about Ryze is the tier and the catalyst coming out, so he's pretty happy, just farming up until mid game. And then on the opposite side, Fox just going for those Hex core upgrades. And they're still farming up his jungle, so...
Big fan of the play-by-playing items in here.
Yeah.
Like this item's coming in, he's about to
it gives me time as well to also look for the other item builds and see if there's anything weird going on, but we don't see a lot of weird diversity in item builds anymore. It's very standard usually with each champion has a specific build they go for.
Well, we've seen some AD carry changes, at least if we look at Korea as well.
That's true.
Funny enough, been looking a lot of Korea because they've been playing on 6-11 this week, where like some new Jhin builds, Ghostblade, Duskblade coming in as like very, very exciting builds with a lot of armor penetration. I'm really hoping we get to see that later. These two AD carries, however, will not build anything exciting.
It's Caitlyn and Ashe, so...
Yeah, Ashe will go Essence Reaver first, and Caitlyn will obviously just go straight for her AD items into the Hurricane and then complete the Infinity Edge. There's really nothing to write home about, sadly. And yet we feel like we are entertaining people by talking about it. Not really. Let's find something else. Let's talk about Soraka throwing Space Bananas.
Space Bananas, yeah. That's pretty good. I actually really like that Soraka skin, but they're going to take up this next turret, and do we have a response in the bottom lane? I think it's only Gamsu lonely pushing in the bot lane, but he's going to take it at the same time.
Man.
Yeah, lives on the island.
He actually wants this because he gets the full goal from tower.
Gold,
so now the team is kind of patting him on the back being like, guys, Gamsu, we really love you, you know. Yeah, we might sacrifice you in the early game, but trust me.
It's officially patting me on the back right now.
I don't know why, because you're also really like...
Well, now I get to understand how Gamsu feels.
Yes,
you know? So I liked it.
First, you shoot him down a little bit, you force him to fall behind, then you give him the full goal.
Yeah.
That's it.
You allow him to come into the game. But, I mean, take a look at this farm right now. He's caught up to Steve. He's gotten that tower, so he's pretty good in terms of gold. And now he's level 7, so he's got the ultimate. He's able to get involved in those skirmishes if they open up. And Fnatic, of course, take the first Mountain Dragon because they have the strong side down there.
Basically, once Fnatic have like level 11 on Feb event, he gets some boots as well. You can start moving him to the side lane. You play that 1-3-1 game. That's the key thing about Caitlyn. She really wants to sit in the mid lane. She does nothing in the side lane once we pass the laning phase. Very easy to then just kill her with all these different mid lane picks. Even junglers can basically take her down if they get just a little bit of help. So you really want to move Caitlyn to the mid lane once your Ryze is ready. Once he's fully grown up, you move him to that side lane. And then Fnatic can play their pressure game where basically they're winning the Ryze lane. The Shen lane will always just go even. No one is going to die. But he can then obviously, as we talked about, join in with the double global. Even getting a Rift Hole actually will have a lot of value for Fnatic because they are playing the split push game. It is Schalke who's playing the team fight game. The 5-on-5, the we will hard engage with the Ashe into a TP. No, there's a Rift Herald. It's not Steve.
No, that's not Steve. The Herald, we don't really have a name for. Gilius comes in there, does not get the smite down. Spraddle's going to also arrive, a lot of poking going on. But Steve, meanwhile, by himself, just going 1-on-2, and that's not going to result well for him. First blood out for Reckless.
I think he got confused because people were yelling his name.
Yeah, and he was just like, oh yeah, this trade's going well.
In, man. Oh, I'm alone. Rest of Schalke joined in too late as well, and this is great for Fnatic. First blood, get the Rift Herald for Gamsu, so he has more pressure in his side lane. When pushing, actually can apply more damage to towers as well with the proc. And the only thing Schalke gets is a few hits on his mid tower. Sad, sad price for them. And 1k gold behind Pulse.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in a situation like that where you have a group of Schalke members versus a group of Fnatic members and you have the Maokai there, then usually it should go better because Shen versus the Maokai, right? But we're going to see Yellowstar actually getting caught out in his own jungle. 4 members dogpiling on top of him and all of the ultimates coming in. Spend everything on the kitchen sink and they get the kill in return.
In a sinister regards, man. Yellowstar goes down instantly for him. Schalke just rotating from that mid straight down towards the bottom side, and Yellowstar not respecting. They could be hiding in that jungle. Put more damage on mid tower. Again, it's small things for Schalke at this point. There's not really anything else they can do on the map because there's no dragon, there's no Rift Herald.
Sure.
Just give it a few more hits, and then now you back away and you kind of reset the map one more time if you are Schalke.
So really there, I'm not sure exactly what happened to Steve other than him just like standing behind the Baron wall completely by himself and just try and go for that 1v2. But nice punish from Schalke, seeing Yellowstar looking for those wards and taking him out.
He was trying to move around to like flank from both angles because they already had the strong group coming from the mid lane, and if they could then stop Fnatic from running up towards the top side. But then he didn't expect Reckless and Yellowstar to sit there and just jump him instantly, and therefore he died. He didn't even get to use flash or anything. He actually just got killed very, very easily. So we had a point now where, despite Fnatic giving up 1 kill, can still be happy. We talked so much about the composition. Schalke leaving that Ryze open, allowing Fnatic to get that strong mid lane pick. But I actually do think it makes sense. I don't think any pick right now is so strong it has to be permaban. I think you can play around everything.
Interesting. A lot of teams...
Not saying that stuff you should, you know, not
we'll
ban
just leave the
at all,
Vladimir open, it'll be absolutely
yeah.
okay. But then we've seen teams like First Pick and just destroy the enemy, so... Yeah, sometimes don't want to leave up some of the super strong picks right now. I think Vlad is maybe the exception to the rule there. And Gilius, he's going to be pushed out of his own jungle, not able to take his red buff there.
I think he just managed... No, actually, you're right. He had an old one.
That's Spirit, I believe, the red buff. Thank you, observers.
You can see it away.
Great invade. Spirit's been all over Gilius in this game, being taken away. Small things away from him. Gilius will try and take away...
the revenge red buff. Problem for him now is the rest of Fnatic is already moving. And they're all pinging at the red buff. He has smite though. Might just be able to burst it down and take
wants it, but not there in time before it starts resetting and he's over the wall.
Love the little detail here.
Oh, Spraddle! And by himself, Spirit is destroying that Soraka. Gonna follow after. Gravity Field really didn't do too much. And Feathervin's going to chase after in the mid lane as well. Maybe an overextension from Spirit's going to have to run out of the Chaos Storm, who is still chasing down Feathervin. So lots of damage coming in from Fox and no kill over to Fnatic.
I like how Fnatic, when they were invading in there, didn't even hit the red buff, knowing Gilles would have smite. They said, no, run right past it, force him out, secure a second red buff for the team. And Fnatic playing this high-pressure game. Always looking to fight, always looking for skirmish. Gamsu used TP in this one, doesn't matter, you have another one. And you could just go back to your lane, and Schalke wants just to really slow down the game. But Fnatic is obviously not agreeing on that one.
Yeah. Really just trying to get involved in these fights. So Reckless now has picked up the Runan's Hurricane, alongside, of course, the BF Sword. That is the build. You go BF Sword, then into the Hurricane, then into Infinity Edge. I actually saw him go for Berserker's Greaves before that, so yeah, just trying to get the extra bit of attack speed. Mr. Runner's actually gone for the Hurricane first as well, instead of going straight for that Essence Reaver, so he's going to be copying Reckless's build.
Yeah, build also we see more and more. Works really well with Ash's Q. Basically just like a quick rule when it comes to Hurricane. If your champion has like an attack speed steroid, Hurricane is actually a pretty decent item for you, especially when it comes to this applying damage to multiple members, which is the key thing. But if I'm really being like Captain Obvious here, if you want to deal damage to multiple members, you can buy a Hurricane.
And it hits multiple members.
It does. Like before, we had the Rage Blade in there sometimes. Not for Ashe, obviously, but like if you have
Ashe did go for a very short stint of building.
Tristana with the Rage Blade build, where like, I have an attack speed steroid, I'm going to pop it, instantly get it fully stacked, and just deal a ton of damage to multiple members. Now though, we get to see Ocean Drake coming up. Fnatic again, they have the early game pressure. They want to be able to take these early objectives, because then if they can't close out the game through the 1-3-1, once you get like an Elder Drake, stack multiple of the other dragons with it, you have a super strong push coming in, secure a Baron with it, try and close out the game. So it's very important for Fnatic. They have control around these dragons early on, and that's why both teams are fighting for it. It might not look very interesting. They're just killing wards. It's kind of like whatever. But the pre-setup for the dragon is important. The foreplay is important, Pulse.
But for you, Official, I'm sure you love this right now with all the pink wards going down and lots of vision being cleared out.
I cry every time they die.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
I think someone could get called out though. Fnatic need to be careful in this situation, because so often I see teams playing up against an Ashe and just like one person's just going to ward by themselves, and Yellowstar jumping in there and just get hit by an arrow and instantly die.
And that's the key thing, right? That's why Ashe is such a good pick as well. If you're not 100% coordinated when you play against an Ashe, then one guy will get caught out. The problem in this case is Schalke is so far back on the map that even if they do shoot an arrow in the face on someone, the rest of the team probably won't be able to follow up in time and kill the guy.
Yeah.
So Ashe does extremely well when you have the control in river, because she can keep moving down into the river where you have a few pink wards. If you ever push up your lane, she just arrows you straight away. And like it just means you can never push far enough unless she's sitting this far back on the map, because Fnatic have the winning side lanes with this 1-3-1 double global, triple technically global comp.
Yep.
It's really difficult then for Rallis to do anything now. That's like a Schalke is saying, we want to farm. Like, guys, just farm up, get 2 items completed. Then we start looking for fights. Third dragon is probably going to be the one.
Okay, I will hold you to that, Officio. In the next 6 minutes, we'll see if they do go for that. Let me check what the next dragon is going to be. It's going to be another Ocean. So we'll see if there will be a fight over that from Schalke. Also great zoning control from Reckless for traps, just covering all of the choke points before near the dragon. And I believe he's probably maxing as well. Yeah, level 5 already on that. Very few Caitlyn's max Piltover anymore. It's all about the traps, all about getting those down and zoning people.
Yeah, there's actually really no point in ever maxing Q on Caitlyn anymore. Like, the base damage of it is not that great. Good scaling, but you get the scaling already from rank 1.
Yeah, sure.
It gets a little bit better every time you do rank it up though, but you just get a few levels in it in a lane swap. Or if you need it specifically for the laning phase, otherwise you just straight max your traps. It's all about zone control with Caitlyn. It's funny, we have 2 AD carries where it's all about actually being able to push up your mid lane and then just have this zone control, like one through having an engage tool where you have to always respect that and stay really far away. And the other one is by having these traps being set up in every single choke point. And you never really have a proper way of engaging onto her without taking a ton of damage beforehand.
Yep. I want to see Gamsu get involved in these skirmishes as well, because it's been a while since we've seen Shen. I've missed the old flash and dash maneuver where you can flash after the E, of course. Still works, looks great.
Yep.
Featherman, what is going on right now?
He's standing something in the wall.
Yeah. Oh, and immediately gets arrowed out from Valaz, and wrong place, wrong time. Gilius is gonna find him. Growl coming in, Witch comes up, Gamsu comes in to try and defend him. Stand United, not gonna be enough. That one kill goes over. T-Tors, there's Spirit. And now Ral is trying to get on top of him. Last prey seeker will see where he's retreating to.
I feel like we just talked about like this zone control almost the Ashe will offer, because if you ever move too close to her, like it's an easy arrow in your face and then you're out of position. Fnatic thought, okay, we got Shen coming in, we have Nidalee moving, we can take this fight. Problem is the rest of Schalke were already there. It did leave the mid lane open, so technically despite Fnatic losing a kill, they win out on this trade because Fnatic gets the mid lane tower. And don't think they expected almost all of Schalke to be on top side before they took that little engage. Or they're basically saying, you know what, we're happy forcing a fight against all of your members because mid tower is then open.
See how frustrating it is to play against this Fnatic comp. There's just like spears and Piltover Peacemakers coming out of nowhere, chunking you down.
Kate is so annoying when she gets to sit in mid lane. Like when you have good side lanes, Kate is just such a perfect way to carry. Because again, I want to catch her. No, trap. Net.
Really annoying. I mean, Net is not the best ADC escape, but when combined with everything else she has in her kit, it's just amazing. It's not like a Tristana where it's just like you think you have Tristana and then she just jumps away anyway.
You can still interrupt the Tristana though.
You can, but there's like a couple frames where she just she just pieces out regardless.
I feel like Net is like a discount Arcane Shift.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Same
purpose,
amazing.
but you can stop it. A little bit slower, and now arrow!
There's the engage, Rallis is coming in, good knock-up, and the follow-up from Steve as well, keeping them in place. Yellowstone and Fevin are still alive, finally the Riots will drop. Fox coming in here, and the Chaos Storm will not tag anyone just yet, but the overtime damage is going to maybe pick up the kill onto Spirit, but that's the kill onto Yellowstar instead before Spirit gets away. Cougar form has been activated, and Fox is still on the chase, but now he's out of mana, 2-0 to Schalke.
Meanwhile, in the top lane right now, we have a tank battle between a tank Rek'Sai and a Shen, so funny enough.
Good play-by-play.
It's what I do.
Auto-attack, auto-attack.
Auto-attack, spin around with this weird Rek'Sai thingy that does no damage to a tank. Everyone backs away though, but there's no ulti from Gamsu. He had TP, but because they're pushed all the way to tower, Schalke got another engage, and every single time, it's Mr. Rallis landing the arrow, starting the fight. It's exactly why they drafted this Ashe here, and we're fine taking the team fight in comp versus the split push. Like, we can always engage.
Yep. This is exactly what we were talking about in Champions. I just need to pull the trigger, and you can see it right here. Immediately, arrow comes in, and Gideus follows up instantly.
Only annoying thing with Schalke is how everyone has to move first, so they have to give away some damage on the tower, but then straight engage. Nothing Fnatic can do at this point. You see top lane Gamsu saying, guys, I'm not going to join. I'm just going to push this tower. Schalke gets a few more kills, still behind in goal, because they've been losing these towers behind in Dragons as well. Double Ocean Drake does have quite a lot of value in the mid game with the region it does offer you, especially when you play these split pushing setups where like you take a bit of damage and then you back away and you kind of reset and you keep pressure in lanes. You never really have to go back to base, or at least not as often when you get these double oceans. So it's very good when you have these small trades and then a pause where you just want to push minions, which is what a 1-3-1 comp wants to do.
Fnatic will be very happy with a second ocean, but Schalke, they have the ability to take it away. We've seen that they can really make these trades work for them, so we might see more aggression. Third Drake coming in.
And fight is going to happen.
Will always see the fight. Well, this time, Schalke actually has the control over the area. 2 pings have gone down. They have the crab as well. Steve, however, does not have TP, but he is in the bottom lane, so he's going to join the team first, while Gamsu gets all the time in the world for the next 5 seconds to push the top tower by himself. So Schalke need to make a decision.
Yeah, welcome to playing against multiple globals when you only have one teleport and then a Rek'Sai ulti. Gilius could have been on top side now and just ulti down to stop this push. I actually think that would have been the correct play. But Schalke is so focused on hard engaging, and then it was a little bit too optimistic.
Yeah. Arrow did not land, and therefore Gamsu will just take the top turret very easy.
And Fnatic can just give over this dragon. They got 2 already, it's fine. They have enough in the bank. Get a free tower instead.
He's still pushing.
Yeah, he's still going. He's not going to get more though.
No. But,
instead, we got the double trap set up one more time. Keep that Caitlyn in mid. Keep blocking every single entrance when you are moving around. And people will hate you.
Really nice though. Fnatic just stopping the rotation, make it very difficult for Schalke to come into mid lane with the traps, get a bit of damage onto the mid tower, come back for that one later. Remember they did the same thing bot lane, so they haven't picked up the towers, but in the future they'll be able to knock them down like dominoes. Meanwhile, Fnatic are invading into the jungle here. Did manage to get away with the red buff, so they are happy for for now. Good setup by YellowStar. Not sure if he wanted that, probably not.
He's a support, he doesn't get any jungle camps.
Yeah, he's just like...
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Spirit, making sure YellowStar knows his place.
So nonchalant as well, just tossed out the spear as he was leaving.
New times in Fnatic, new times.
Yeah.
Reina would have easily have gifted that one over to YellowStar.
Look at me, I'm the captain now.
Spirit has been one of the best players for Fnatic. We could criticize his pick, but his performance on the Kha'Zix last week was good.
Yeah, can't argue.
I wasn't the biggest fan of the compositions they built around it. I think that was a major reason why they actually lost some of their games. They also just didn't play well. But in this game here, Fnatic has been able to keep pressure going all the time. Reckless has been playing a great AD carry game where all you have to do is hit minions, then hit the tower, and then place these traps. Like, you're never really getting challenged at all. But again, it's why Caitlyn is such a good AD carry, sitting in this mid lane. Because every time you do move forward, you just move the traps with you.
Yeah. It's like the Azir of ADC, where you just shove the mid lane and have them clear, and then put people in the side lanes.
Choke.
Yeah. It's really frustrating, and you can see that resulting in gold totals, almost 4,000 gold ahead now over Schalke.
Why not the Teemo of mid?
The Teemo?
Because you just put the mushrooms instead.
I think that's a little bit different. I think the poke potential of Teemo is lacking compared to Azir and Caitlyn. Maybe just a little.
No, AP Teemo does.
Yeah.
Deal pretty serious damage.
Sometimes we look at picks that have been buffed over and over again to see if they come back into the meta. Teemo has been buffed a couple times. Not in recent patches.
Weird buffs though. It's
yeah.
Like, hey,
like, now you can bounce mushrooms.
Yeah, it bounce them, and now you can like run around in a bush without losing your stealth. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you don't think anything of a change, and then someone finds a really creative way to use it. Gamsu. I mean, they're trading in the bot lane. Gamsu executed his combo perfectly. Shadow Dash, usual Q, get the extra attack speed on your opponent, and over time he will grind down Maokai. It will just take like half a century to do so, but it does do max health damage, so he'll get there in the end.
And we talked about Fnatic Barons earlier. Obviously, when you play these 1-3-1 comps and you start pushing your lanes, you get a free river. It's just yours because you constantly push past the river anyway, and you can just move in, put up your pink wards, and get Baron control. That's also why we see double blue trinket from Schalke to make sure, okay, try and spot the Baron every single time.
Yeah.
And for Schalke, again, it's about engaging with this Ashe. Before Fnatic gets to set up the full split push and push all the way down to your tier 2 towers, you have to be able to engage first. I want to see if we get like a Mikhail's coming in. No, because we actually got double QSS from Fnatic. I really like that. Because they know, okay, the main engage, it's going to be Rallis. Second engage is going to be like the flash engage from a Maokai, the flash knock-up from a Rek'Sai. That's going to be the ways for Schalke then. Make sure Fnatic don't win the game just by playing side lanes.
Got the game got a lot harder, as you mentioned, now that they picked up those Quicksilver Sashes. Gamsu still pushing in the bot lane, but it's harder for him really to make much headway against Steve, especially with Steve just being there. He just needs to be a body in the bot lane, because as soon as Gamsu steps up to hit the tower, then he's got Sunfire Cape, so then the tower hits him.
And we said earlier, Pulse, I believe we said it together, so we both now go down with this one.
Go down?
Yeah.
I thought we were getting credit
no,
for
this is a bad one. Right?
All right, okay.
We said we didn't expect anything fancy from the AD carries. There's a little bit of change, obviously, from Rallis in this one. With the Hurricane into Infinity Edge build, going for more raw damage output. I personally think in a game where you are the main engage, even if there's double QSS, I like their CDR build quite a lot. Just again, less cooldown on your arrow. It is so important for you to stop them. Because yeah, you might have more damage now, but if you never get to get a proper team fight with it, then who cares?
Sure.
So I feel like here you can go for the arrow and kind of shoot them on cooldown, almost. Just constantly see if you can create a pick here, force maybe a TP from Gamsu. Because right now, Schalke is just losing across the map. They have nowhere they're winning, because it's a Rift-held Shen who's winning the 1v1 against Maokai.
Well, Schalke really want to pull the trigger here in the mid lane, knowing that there was 2 people in the bottom lane taking that tower, but Gilius was by himself. Rallis really didn't want to initiate in that scenario, and YellowStar just kind of stepped up, put the shield down, gave enough time to Rise to rejoin them. They'll walk all the way around back into this mid lane, and I'm not really sure that Schalke can take this tower.
So basically what's happening right now is a fight.
Yeah, Gilius is going to step up to the tower, and the rest of the team just abandon him. They don't want any of this. Flash forward by Featherfin, going to lock him down in the Rune Prison. Great ultimate out from Fox. Will put a lot of damage onto the aggressing Fnatic. Gamsu's going to come in from the side, look for the 12 flash. Lots of flashes all over the place, and Rallis are going to follow out onto Gamsu. Cuts the vision, he'll back away.
That was a weird fight, Pauls. It was
Can we
like
call it a
Gillis is
fight?
like, I'm gonna kill this tower, and his team is out running away, and he just dies.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Really strange. I'm not going to call that a fight. I would say that was
Sure.
a miscommunication there, but Fnatic immediately go onto the Baron and should take this down without any real contest. I mean, Rada's going to step up here, try and steal with a volley. I mean, why not just try at least, I guess, but not going to find it. And Fnatic get the kill and the Baron at 30 minutes.
Schalke did realize, okay, how do you stop split pushing? You do it by getting mid lane control. If you can't start them in the side lanes, you just get mid lane control, you just 5-man or 4-man rush down the mid, because then suddenly the side lanes don't want to keep pushing because there's a chance you collapse on them on the side or they lose a mid tower, you know, as examples. Problem is, they obviously rushed in and then just Gillis died. Like, then he also flashed ready, like, he just got caught, CC'd, dead on the tower. It is one of the annoying things when you are a melee champion and the enemy team is defending, you're not supposed to hit the tower.
Yeah.
Like, let the range guys do it. Even got the space bananas.
It's just like, well, he was just went in there, he was like committing, and he was just like,
Committing
okay
for that
guys,
tower,
everyone
man.
hit the tower. And they were like, and they're like saying, yeah, go for that, while they're standing in like the inner towers, like, keep going, Gillis, you got this. But,
well, he didn't get it.
No, he did not. And now this game is going rather badly for Schalke. It's been going worse and worse over the last kind of 10 minutes. Gradual advantages from Fnatic, and now it's just kind of all escalated out of control now that they have the Baron. And now this 1-3-1 composition has just gotten a whole lot worse.
And you can see Fnatic actually is not even fully committing to playing every single lane. They keep fibbing with the rest of the team because the 4-man group are respecting the amount of engage from Schalke. And it's just much easier for them to take the fight 4v4 than having Febren TPing in a few seconds later once the fight potentially could already be over. So just keeping everyone together because they're winning that side lane battle anyway, and they have the Baron at this point, trying to siege up with Nidalee, with the Caitlyn. Does make it easier for Schalke to defend though. And we're gonna get one of these games where we'll get some of these late game team fights. And then suddenly Rale's build could pay off. But for now Schalke is behind, this tower is taking a ton of damage.
He does have that front line, but the front line is very dubious to step up right now after what just happened to Gillias. Steve saw that and was like, I guess I'll just sit at my inhibitor tower for now. But middle inner goes down over to Fnatic. They will continue to push in. All of the inners, all of the outers are currently dead for Schalke, so they're going to have to try and hold the line here at their inhibitors. And pushing the top lane from Fevin, pushing the bot lane now from Gamsu. Will be the rotation from Fnatic into the top lane as well, and they'll just try and break that shell.
And let's remember, it's not the end of the world for Fnatic if they don't manage to like win the game with the Baron buff here. They got the Dragons anyway, they have a big gold lead. Full map control, they can wait for an Elder Drake potentially. Use that one as your way to win the game. It does give Schalke a few more options, but Fnatic doesn't really have a composition that straight up dives like through a tower. It is taking a lot of damage with the Baron buff here, double cannon shooting.
Yeah, Baron buff plus Caitlyn equals tower dying very quickly. Double cannon means it says rain down hell. Instant cleanse out by Reckless. He's going to be knocked up by Gillias. Do they have enough damage? They'll take out his support first. Gillias is going to back away. Witch comes down. Crumbs Braddock will keep him alive. Spirit now backing away. And Schalke are keeping up the chase, but they're nowhere near in range. But they do stop the push.
Stop the push for now. 4 members from Fnatic still very healthy. Continue pushing in, a little bit greedy for the team. No engage from Rales, but Steve is still here with flash and everything. Schalke might get another fight.
Gillias really wants to get in range of the Spirit, and he'll get the knockup, but there's no team behind him. He's too far ahead. Steve all the way in with the Twisted Advance. Good arcane smash. Gamsu, meanwhile, locked up right in the middle of Schalke. They'll pick up another easy kill onto him while the rest of the team run away. Tails between their legs, but they got what they came for. They took down the tower.
Yep. Didn't lose anything else. No other objectives on the map to take. Smart call by Fnatic. Under a lot of pressure, only 4 members alive and still going and finishing off the tower. So good shot calling from the team, and something it's easy to not even realize could have happened. Like, they could have taken that tower. If they just recall, we've been like, yeah, that's smart, you know, one guy died.
Yep.
Recall, go back, wait for Elder Drake, no problem. But in this case, they actually managed to get a tower where you normally wouldn't see a team get it. So very, very good shot calling from Fnatic. And finally this mid tower goes down. Schalke has been
They got it. We've got mid lane control. Not really, because Gillias is getting completely destroyed out there by Reckless, caught in that trap. But this is something that we praised Fnatic for coming into the split. You know, Yellowstar coming back, and we spoke even to Fnatic during spring, and that was something that they said they were lacking in terms of communication, in terms of shot calling. When I was speaking to actually Febvin last split, and he was saying it's a lot more difficult now without Yellowstar, and him coming back in. we can see these small movements that maybe Fnatic wouldn't have done in spring, and actually I can say that with confidence.
And also, we heard from the players, this split, I'm a bit more up-to-date here, so I take this split.
Perfect.
Both Reckless and Febivan being able to play much better individually because they don't have to think about shot calling anymore. They just have to feed very standard information over to Yellowstar. Like, oh, this guy flashed, you know, this time. They put a ward here.
Yep.
Oh, this guy is now going to back. You know, these kind of things.
And Yellowstar computes the information.
And that's what you do. Like, you have 3 or 4 members who are just providing information. And then you have, like, typically 1 or 2 guys who will then 100% decide on the play. For Schalke, it's like Sprattle and Gilles are feeding a lot of information over to Mr. Rales, who's actually then the guy making the final call as an AD carry. But he's always been a very vocal member. But everyone is talking. Like, it's not like when we say he's the shot caller, it means 4 other members are saying nothing.
Yeah.
No. Everyone is talking. Everyone is feeding information and adding what they can. But there's often this one guy who says, everyone shut up. This is what we're going to do. Go here now. And then you suddenly get a tower. You get a Baron. And these kind of quick things.
I just imagine Yellowstar is like a robot computing the information. Is like, okay, beep boop, go Baron right now. And then Fnatic all follow the call. They're very fast as well, following those calls. They all instantly go towards a place. And before, when we saw that rotation in bot lane, one person goes down, take the tower, instantly go back up to mid lane.
Yeah, super good point, because that's another part about communication as a team. One of the most important things when you make calls is that everyone is on the same page when you make the call. And you don't have to explain exactly what it is. If Yellowstar says, let's go Dragon, well, then the rest of his team know, okay, we need to set up deep vision first. We need to push out our lanes. Or if I'm sitting on 2,000 gold, I probably need to recall now and come back then so I'm ready for the Dragon. All these things, each player needs to know on his own. So Yellowstar can just make that simple call saying, guys, we're going to go in Dragon in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Everyone then knows, okay, how do we set up for it? What do we need to do? That's another super important part when it comes to team communication. And that's where a lot of new teams, they don't have that. You have to like micro call a lot of things, which then slows everything down. And if one guy's sitting on 2,000 gold when the fight is about to start, well, he's going to be useless because he's obviously much weaker than the enemy mid laner. And then you can blame him.
Exactly. You can put the blame train on someone else, but Elder Dragon has spawned, and Fnatic are taking it away very quickly. Here comes the TP out from Steve on the bottom side. Gilles comes over the wall, does not manage to get the steal down, and Fnatic are closing in around him. Will be dropping him into the Guardian Angel. Meanwhile, Steve will get on top of Yellowstar and Febvin, who will jump away. Gilles comes back up and goes back down, and Fox and Rales chasing Reckless into the pit. He'll flash over the wall, abandoning Spirit for now, and Steve, in fact, will be the one to fall. 2-0 over to Fnatic so far. They'll lose one member, but get another on to Rales. We've got Sparrow trying to put down some cover fires. Fox is looking to retreat. Good gravity field, but Schalke come up massively behind.
And the 2 Mountain Drakes here paying off for Fnatic, even more damage on these objectives. Schalke came in pretty late, honestly. Elder Drake was almost dead, and then it became this little 50-50 smite between the junglers, but Spirit was there, able to deal a bit of damage, and then smite it after. And despite Schalke playing a nice team fight, against Elder Drake at this point, it's almost impossible to win these fights.
And look at what Elder Dragon plus having double Mountain does to a team like Fnatic. They can just destroy these inner base objectives. Inhibitor tower goes down, plus the inhibitor, plus the top inhibitor. Fox tries to put a little damage down himself, but Unbreakable will stop the laser coming out there. And Gilles, he's going in all the way from behind. He's a very sneaky Rek'Sai right now.
That's a pretty crazy flank.
Yeah.
Steve is not there. Mr. Rales is not there. Gilles, no.
No,
get out.
It was just a prank. All right, he's out. He's good. Yellowstar found him with the sweeper. He's just like, I wonder what that is in the bush.
It's a big ward moving around.
Yeah.
To be fair, when you look at the damage Fnatic have at this point, they probably would kill Gilles as fast as they would kill a pink ward right now with the Elder Drake. Reckless setting up for a Baron, because you still have Elder and Gilles is going in, but the team's on the other side.
He's completely separated. He's very tanky, but now the team will go in, immediately get hit by the traps. Gilles is just dead. Sprattle will back away. He also falls. Now Steve comes in with a flank with Fox, but it's already a 3 versus 5, and Fnatic are playing this team fight perfectly. Rales goes down. He's got no peel from the rest of the team. Fox finds a kill on return. Make that 2. Steve will come in here, but he drops, and Gamsu is just blocking Fox if he even wants to try and get out of there. Gamsu still even had his ultimate. 3 members will survive from Fnatic, and they wipe out Schalke.
And pushing straight for the base here. They've been playing really well in this game, setting everything up from the start, getting the dragons, getting the lane control, and then you win some of the late game team fights when you have an Elder Drake as well.
And that's That's just going to be it for this first game right here. The rest of Fnatic are very easily just going to walk and waltz into this mid lane and take down the Nexus. Very, very much a convincing win for Fnatic in this first game against Schalke.
Yeah, honestly, never really felt like Fnatic weren't in control. Even when Schalke got a few good engages here and there, Schalke always lost a tower or always had to chase a little bit too long and then use a few summoner spells, maybe didn't have to or didn't get a bit of extra farm at the time. And Fnatic were hitting gold almost all game long. And it's okay to smile now, Fnatic. Like, you guys won.
But they do have one more game to go, so
there
game faces...
There we go. He's pranking us.
Yeah, it was just a prank in the end. But great game by Fnatic. As you mentioned, they were ahead pretty much all the way through the game. If you were just panning over, maybe you're watching this on like another monitor, you should be watching this on your primary one, but look across, it's like, oh yeah, lots of kills to Schalke. They seem to be ahead up in kills, but in terms of gold, they were always down. In terms of objectives, again, always down. And Fnatic were just playing the map.
We talked about Champ Select. Set up the comps, 1-3-1 on the side of Fnatic, having pressure multiple lanes, having double, triple global, obviously, and Schalke, as we said as well, what teams like to do, if they have like a Victor or an Azir, they're like, okay, we're not going to try and match the enemy mid lane and the side lane, so even if we pick like a lane bully top against something like a Shen, well, we're not really going to be able to play the split push game because they have double TP, so we go full team fight. Pick a tank who can engage, but Steve never really managed to TP in and do anything, like, at all.
That was the biggest thing, right? It was just like Steve has to make that one shot, the one opportunity work out for the team, and also leverage that with the Ashwell. Because remember, Rallens did not go for the S04 in this game. He went for the more crit-based build, so you have even less arrows, less ways to get into those fights, less frequently. So once you pull the trigger, you have to make sure that that works out. And sometimes it did, but they didn't get enough. They were getting like a kill or like 2 kills. And they stopped the push, but the damage is already done to the tower.
And that's always the problem, right? If by the time you get the fight started, they're already at your tower hitting it. Even then, when you get the kill, you're never getting more from it. Because normally, if you get a kill and everyone is in the middle of the map, you can then maybe take a tower or you can get at least a buff or something. It's a few camps and some deep wards. When you push this far back on the map, getting a few kills just kind of delays the game. Nothing else. So I really felt like Fnatic were in control. I'm very happy to see a different kind of composition from them in here, like 1-3-1, something we know they like to play with Febiven in the side lanes. Yes, it's another tank from Gamsu, but it's a tank at least where you can have more pressure on the map, which was a nice change. I really think Schalke just, in the early game, gave away too many things, honestly, and couldn't really fight at the 20-minute mark because they were so far pushed back. Fnatic just kept getting more and more objectives and stayed in control.
I mean, that's what you were saying, right? It was just like, well, it's very clear right now Schalke are looking to get those 2 item spikes, get to the mid game, then force the fights. But because they were so far behind, it's just like, well, what can we do? And then they go for the fights and just kind of don't get enough from it or just straight up lose as we got further on into the game. And we can actually see this replay right here. This is the fight where Fnatic just straight up beats out
with the Elder Drake at this point, right? Like, this is where Fnatic is supposed to win 10 out of 10 times almost. At this point here, Schalke came in from different angles. Another situation where I feel like the TP from Steve was extremely delayed. And if you want to keep playing tanks in this meta, you better be good at it. Like, I want to see a tank then who can always engage fights properly, who knows, you know, exactly how much damage he can take. Otherwise, you are way better off just playing some of these carries who can have more impact. And that's where I felt like both top laners weren't like the centerpiece at all here. It was more about the group of 4. But then at least Gamsu with the Shen had way more pressure on the map.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Either way, we're going to send it over to Quickshot, who is standing by off to the side stage to take a look at the Arena Series between Origin and Roccat.
Start to the cast for the day. I am going to talk about the game that just took place over between Roccat and Origin on EULCS2. And straight out the gates, no real surprises. We're seeing the Ashe, we're seeing the Trundle in terms of the picks and bans. And truthfully, Origin looked very good in the early game. We're going to start a replay package shortly to highlight the early to mid stages of the game. And after the lane swap had been initiated, Origin were the ones that had a small tempo advantage. You can see on the minimap, they're pushing the towers down, as are Roccat. And Roccat are going to secure the first dragon of the game. Unfortunately, from here on out, it starts going downhill. FLICKR and Hybrid, they play very aggressive in Rockat's jungle. Betsy disrespects that fact, and he gets jumped on by FLICKR and Power People for first blood. The mid game is a series of Ashe arrow picks, one after the other, almost exclusively onto Betsy. He gets caught out in the mid lane. A few minutes later, there's a sneak from Baron after Origin are able to find another pick onto Betsy. Look at this, 23 minutes, they secure themselves control. 24.5, 25 minutes, they grab themselves Baron, and then they follow it up with yet another pick onto Betsy. Now you'd think after seeing the 4,000 gold lead, the kill advantage, the pick power, that this game is over. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be the case because FLICKR actually got caught out multiple times. He was disrespecting the amount of engage potential that Gragas could put on the map, and this stalled the game by about 12 to 13 minutes. In the end, Origin closed it out, but it was way closer than it needed to be in the end, and I think FLICKR's positioning needs a little bit of work. One little aside that I did notice between both streams, Rift Herald was picked up between 11 and 11 minutes 30 on stream 1 and 2. 11 minutes 05 was secured by Origin. That's the quickest of the summer split. I want to see if that trend continues. Anyways, that game will be starting shortly. For now, we're going to head to an ad break, and when we come back, Fnatic versus Schalke.
Just goes 1-on-2, and that's not going to result well for him. However, there's the engage. Ralez is coming in. Good knock-up, and a follow-up from Steve as well, keeping them in place. Yellowstone Pepin are still alive. Finally, the right will drop. Fox and Ralez chasing Reckless into the pit. He'll flash over the wall, abandoning Spirit for now. And Steve, in fact, will be the one to fall. 2-0 over to Fnatic so far. They'll lose one member, but get another on to Ralez.